All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna kind of follow this sheet that you got a copy of, and I believe I emailed it to you yesterday. This morning, I also emailed you a whole slew of forms that maybe you can slide over somewhere and label in your email account. So if anything ever pops up, you can click on it. It's right there in front of you. Some of the things I put in that email were the emergency action plan, master eligibility sheet, the COVID positive test for a coach and a player, all kinds of stuff. The app for Family ID, all the Family ID links, and we'll talk about that in a second. So you got a lot of email. You got that one email with all those, I don't know what it was, 7, 10 different links that you can click on. If you got a question about something, it's probably right there in front of you, so you won't have to contact me. But if you have to, you have to. No big deal. Try not to keep you in here long at all. Okay. If you got questions after we're done, maybe a one-on-one question, no problem at all. I'll do the best to be able to answer it for you. It might be a question still I can't answer, because High School Athletic Association still has not, sent out new info for fall. So it might be, I don't know yet. I'm still waiting just like you are, okay? But if you got a question, you're not sure about something, I'll be glad to answer it after we go over everything. Kind of going over down the sheet of paper right here in front of you. Coaches, make sure you know your sport and the rules that apply. A lot of you coaches get a rule book. I think I put them in your mailboxes. Sometimes the rules change. Sometimes they maneuver a little bit. Make sure you know your rules, okay? It's very important because things do change. Each and every year at the rules clinic, they'll have some kind of new rule that pops in about maybe equipment or maybe practice time hours or hydration standards or whatever the case may be. So make sure you know your sport. That's very important. And you got to know your sport, not everybody else's sport. But make sure you know your sport to the T. So, don't throw that rule book to the side. Go over it with your coaches, your volunteers, and make sure they understand the rules if something were to pop up in a game that you're not sure about. Or if a parent comes up to you and asks you a question, know the rules, okay? Have rules and guidelines in your program, a booklet, notebook, code of conduct when approached by a parent. COVID-19 protocols, athletic handbook. That's another thing I put on that email, the athletic handbook that's been updated. And that's also on Family ID. It's online too. But it's probably a good idea that you have a notebook, and a lot of you already have this, but you got rules to your sport. If a parent comes up and asks a question like, hey, why is this happening? I didn't know that so-and-so couldn't play today because they missed 3 classes, whatever the case may be. So you make sure you can communicate that with your parents, and they've got the rules and guidelines. Now, if they don't read it, when they sign it, maybe you want them to sign a sheet of paper to bring it back to you. If they don't read it, that's on them. So because you gave that booklet or that sheet of paper to the parents. And, there's always stuff that arises and comes up throughout the season. I had a couple emails past couple weeks about parents. So their goal is to use the chain of command and go to you first. If they do not understand it or you don't communicate with them, then they'll come to me. And then if I don't handle the business the correct way, it'll go to Miss Westerbeek and so on. So make sure we use that chain of command, please. And if you got those rules and the parents know the rules, the parents know your guidelines, the parents know your expectations to your sport, you're going to have less problems. If you just wing it and, you got to run today because you had ISS. Well, where's that at? Okay, so you need to have all that. If you're late for practice, what do they have to do? If they have a below a C average maybe in your standards, what do they have to do? If they miss 2 practices in a row, maybe they're going to miss, what do you do, Coach Johnson, a quarter in football or something? If they miss a practice or something, don't they miss a quarter in football or something like that?
They don't start a football game, and if it's excused, we have something. If it's not excused, we have something.
So maybe they got extra conditioning, but you need to have that written out so when you have a confrontation with somebody, it's there. It's right here. I didn't see that. Well, you got the booklet. I handed it to you. Here's the paper that you signed. Okay, and that's going to help you out a lot having, that friction with a parent. Chain of command, I mentioned that. Summer dead periods, which starts next week. You cannot touch an athlete, okay, next week. Now, if they're going to come out, if they want to train on their own, that's fine, but they don't need to come out here at Clinton High School. So, for example, I don't need to have 7 or 8 people out here at the soccer field playing 4-on-4 or shooting at the goal, okay? No coach, if they're going to do that, they need to go to Royal Lane, they need to go to a friend's house, they need to meet somewhere and train on their own. They cannot do it on our school grounds. And you're going to have some people going to try to do that. You might have some people trying to run on that track, which is good. They need to continue to stay in shape when that week they're off, but they don't need to be doing it with you around, and they definitely don't need to be doing it on the school grounds. So those dead periods are July 5th to the 11th and the 19th through the 25th. And the 19th through the 25th is the coaching clinic, as you could say, week. And that's changing as I'm getting more emails from them. But nothing on campus. So you might drive by, and if you see them out there, please help me and help administration say, you got to go, buddy. You got to go. You got to go, ma'am. You got to go. All right? I really appreciate that. They do not need to be on campus because, yes, people are looking. Yes, people are seeing what we're doing. They need to train, but they need to do it on their own. Let's see here. Paper forms, family ID, only physicals. If anytime you get a physical, put it in my box. Put it in my little box outside my door in the coach's office. I immediately put it in there, and then I file it. That's the only form that I need from you. Everything else is online. Don't put it and hold it for a week, 2 weeks, because what's going to happen? We're going to say, where's their physical? I know I had it, and you probably did. But you were talking to somebody, and all of a sudden, you forgot you put it in the back of your car, and you forgot all about it. And it happens. It's happened to me. It happens numerous times. So get it to me immediately. Don't hold on to it for a week, 2 weeks, or when the season starts. I get it in there. Usually I try to send you an email weekly, at least every 2 weeks, to let you look at the physicals and make sure you're up to date on all your kids. Okay? And if little Johnny and little Susie are out there without a physical, that's an issue. They cannot practice without a physical. Tell them to go home. Okay? There's a lot of them ends today, or there's some of them ends today. A lot of them got physicals when Dr. Huff came out here. So there's going to be a handful, including mine. There's a handful that shouldn't be at practice anymore till they bring you a new physical, and then I file it. Family ID is going to open up tomorrow morning at 8:30. It's on the CHS website now. It's not open now. I'll open it when I get here in the morning. So they can go on there, they click it, there's a link that shows them how to do it, and then there's a link that can go straight to it. If they are a student who's already done Family ID, it'll auto-fill. It won't take them long. Now, if they've changed their address or changed phone numbers, yeah, they need to make those changes. But if everything's the same, it should be really quick. They'll just have to do the concussion part over again and have the parent, please listen to this, and then them sign it. Because I bet we had 20 people last year that the parents signed both. So when they're doing concussion, there's a place where the parent signs it, and there's a place where the kid signs it. Okay? If they don't read it, I can't make them I can't go to the house and look in the window and see if they're reading it or not. But when they sign it, they say they've read it. Does that make sense? So I check all those things, and I've had a couple, like I said, I've had a couple parents or a couple players sign both, and I made them do it again. Okay? Yeah, there was a few that, my daddy's name is the same name as mine. Okay, I didn't know that. So Family ID will be open tomorrow at 8:30. Now, they have 10 days to get that done. If Family ID is not done by July 12th, they cannot practice. They cannot do anything till it's done. Now, if you're a sophomore to a senior who's already done it before, it might take them 7 minutes. If you're a rising freshman, it may take them 15, 20 minutes to do. But, once again, you got to communicate that to your players. They've got 10 days to get it done. Why? Because there's concussion on there. Little Johnny trips and he hits his head and he gets a concussion. Well, first thing they're going to ask, did they sign the concussion forms? No. Why are they out there? And we can get in trouble. Okay? Does anybody have any questions about that? The family ID part? Pretty simple. And it helps us out so much not having to lose papers. It's there, right there. Let's see. Got that. Budget information. I emailed a lot of you yesterday about your budget. You know what you can spend, especially if you're a fall. You probably want to jump on that, which most of you've already done. If you're a winter sport, I don't mind you start looking now to get some things. Now, if you want to spend all your money on coaches apparel, let's say you got a $1,500 budget and you sitting there buy 5 shirts for your coaches, and now you got $212 left. I need to get this though. Well, I'm sorry. So you need to decide, and you got to come up with your budget, what you need to get. You know you're going to get a shirt or two from me, from BSN, when school starts. So if that's up to you, how you want to spend your budget. Think about huddle. Think about all that money you got to have and what you need to do with it. Now, I've already got the paint and all that for coaches that have to paint, okay? So that's some things to think about. And cross country, you can use my paint from soccer, so you ain't got to worry about that. But just think about your budget and make sure you're smart with your budget. I know things might pop up out of the blue that you can't do anything about. Come communicate with me. That may be, for example, well, I got last week, Dr. Newton gave me that $10,000 check. He gave me a $10,000 check. We call it like the Dale Johnson Fund. Is that correct? That only goes to individuals who are in desperate need of something, who cannot provide finances. So little Johnny cannot get cleats for football, can't get shin guards for soccer. He just can't afford them. That's what I use that money for. I don't use it, hey, we're going to eat pizza in as a team. Can we use some of that money? No. Okay, that's only used as a special fund. Maybe you got somebody that's a D2 player and he needs to go to this ID camp. He can't afford it. Okay, bam, he goes to that ID camp, it'll pay for him. Does that make sense? That's what those funds are for. That ain't just used to use. Okay? Let's see here. Remember, please use BSN as much as possible. We do have an agreement with them. It's probably about 4th or 5th year now. And the more we use them, the better they help us out with budget money and giving us some extra stuff and taking some pricing down, and it helps out a lot. So our BSN is our number one go-to. Clock keeper and gate duty during the season and out of season. I'm not going to go into that in depth, but if you're a Clinton City School employee, and we have a lot of people in here who do it already, once me and Miss Kirkland get together and we find out how many members that are allowed to work gate duty, we'll give you that number. We need our coaches to help too. So if you're out of season and you work at Clinton City Schools, you've got to work gates. It's a requirement. Please don't be that individual. I ain't doing it. I ain't got to do it. We need your help. Okay? And I'm not going to go in depth on that till I talk to the whole faculty. Okay? All coaches, make sure to complete fundamentals of coaching, which I think most of us already done. I've already updated some stuff. Your coaching pledges, concussion course, July 1st. So your concussion course, which is NFHS Learn, you can do that tomorrow. You can also, I already shared the link with you to do Family ID. You have to do it as a coach too. It might take you 5 minutes. You have to do it every year. Those links I sent today, it's on there. So you click that link when I open it up tomorrow, and you do your Family ID. So same thing, July 12th. If you ain't done it, you don't need to be out there. Why? Because there's concussion questions up there. Shouldn't take you long. You just got to do it. Same thing with a concussion class. Need to do it. First responder, 10 hours. We got that knocked out. CDLs, I think we're in good shape with that. I got caught too. I had the bus driver saw me the other day. I was sitting out there at the parking lot, and school bus guy come up to me and says, "Well, when you go drive?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I ain't heard nothing about it. I ain't got no email or anything. "Well, you got to drive. It's been 3 years. Your birthday's already passed." I said, "I got my CDLs right here on my car." I said, "Who's gonna know?" He said, "Nobody's gonna know, but you still got to drive." I said, "Okay." So I went out there and drove yesterday. So I kept up to date with my school bus license. So just make sure you keep up with your your CDLs not expiring. But we're in great shape with drivers for all our teams. So we shouldn't have any issues with that. But just keep up to date with something expiring. You don't want to hit you, and then now you got to go out there and take a class when you should be at practice. Okay, keep up with it. Coaches practice time for winter sports. I know that's a ways. That's on the coaches. So I ain't got no problem at all helping you guys coming up with a schedule. But y'all did a super job of that the last couple years. Y'all communicate really good with it. And if y'all can handle it without me know anything about it, great. If there becomes a little friction issue, then I'll come up with a schedule. But one thing about our coaches get along really well, and we don't have that big time ego issue. You make sure you're smart with your practice time. If you're an hour and a half, make sure you're done in an hour and a half, because that next coach is coming in. If you want to take your team somewhere else and finish practice, maybe in the health room, fine. But that court time, it needs to be whatever it is, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 1 hour for JV, whatever y'all decide. Y'all decide that. You're good with it. Keeps me out of it. Buses. Coach Brewer's going to handle the buses. So, and I don't mind you asking me what bus number. Last year we used a different thing. We used to use Travel Tracker, then we used something different last year. And last year was crazy because every season was different. But we may get some more information on those buses. I think we got 4 buses that run. And it would be awesome if we could get a little bus. So the tennis team and the golf team and the cross country team possibly. Small, was it a half a bus? Is it 15 passengers? We used to have one. Let's see. Oh, emails. I send out emails, sorry. But when I get something from the High School Athletic Association, I try to forward it to you immediately. You want your players to be on time. You want your players to hand in paperwork. You want your players to know the plays by reading your book or reading your scouting report or whatever you do. So I need you please to read your emails. When I send them out, it might be pertain to you. It may not, but I try to send it to all the coaches. Okay? Usually there's important information you got to know. I'm trying to limit texts. Sometimes every once in a while I'll text you, especially if it's a one-on-one deal. Something happens, but a lot of times I'm going to be emailing more than I'm texting, okay? Booster Club. I believe we're going to have 2 new presidents or a new president. To join the Booster Club is $25. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit. Please listen to me. We've got to support the Booster Club. I think they're going to be having some new ideas coming up. They're going to meet sometime in July. But, I think it's every 4 years we go on that cycle getting new uniforms. I guess I can say it, and I'm going to say it. Booster Club ain't got no money. All right? This COVID's hit strong, and it was tough getting the reverse drawing on without having stakes and what site to go to and get the tickets to the people the correct way without causing interference. So if we don't support the Booster Club, we can't get these little things that we want. So it might be a situation, if we don't really chip in and help this year, it might be a situation where I just have to stop that year cycle for a year or two. And we don't get new uniforms. And I can't do anything about it. I'm different. I'm with the Booster Club, but I'm a different department than the Booster Club. The Booster Club helps us tremendously. They have in the past tremendously. So, don't come up to me asking, hey, will you ask the Booster Club? Well, did you sell any tickets? No? Well, it's tough for me to ask the Booster Club for things. Hopefully we get back on a better cycle this year if we're not selling and doing our part. We need all diversities, all cultures helping with the Booster Club. Not the same people. It needs to be everybody. In the Booster Club, hopefully they'll come out here and they'll talk to all the families, and we can get almost every athlete to join the Booster Club, $25. And I know everybody maybe can't do that, but the more we can help support them with fundraisers and their sponsorships, the better you're going to be off things you may need. We need that help. They need it. And I'll shut up about that. Where am I at? Turn in uniforms, equipment, that's on you guys. I know this was a crazy year. Some teams use the same uniforms for the next sport. If they've not turned it in, you need to write it down as a fee that they need to pay you for. They can't play the next sport. So if Johnny doesn't turn in his soccer uniform, he can't try out for basketball till he does, or he pays that fine. I lost it. Well, you got to pay the fine. So make sure they're turning in the uniforms, all the equipment. So we're not going to let them play, and don't let them get away with it. Don't let them play another sport. Come to me, and I'll let the other coach know that, hey, I hate to tell you, but he can't be out there or she can't be out there because they ain't turned their stuff in yet. As soon as they do that, they'll be good to go. Mr. Club, fines, check behind me, please, such as physicals. There might be some seniors up there I need to delete. I still don't know every person at this school. So there might be people I need to delete off those physicals. Let me know. Just, hey, they need to be off. They're not on the team no more, or whatever the case may be. Help me out. I really appreciate it. Bus rides, you know the deal. I get it every year, cleaning the bus, okay? If you've got my soccer team at the end of a game, I may have, all right, you three guys, it's your game tonight to clean the bus when everybody leaves. It's your job, okay? All right, you three ladies, tonight's your bus night. You got to clean the bus. Or you may say, hey, everybody get up, look under your seat, get the trash up, sweep it out. Tommy, you were late for school today. That's your job. So make sure we're cleaning the bus and taking care of that, because they could charge us $25. And a lot of times come in there, well, soccer comes in there with cleats, and if I don't do a good job sweeping it off, it's on me. Okay? Clean the bus, you know the deal. They can't throw nothing out the window. They're done. Off the team. Well, they're off the team. Hazing, be careful with that. All right, you know that. There's people haze on social media. There's people hazing on the bus. Okay? If you don't trust your kids, every year's different. Sometimes you got a year where like, man, these kids are great. There's still one of them doing something you don't know nothing about. Okay? You might want to have a coach in the middle of the bus, have a coach at the front of the bus, have a coach at the back of the bus. Okay? You don't want them doing stuff that's going to get kicked off the team or even get you in trouble. So be cautious of that. Yeah, I've myself as a coach, I'm pumped up after having a win, beating a team I probably shouldn't have beat, and man, next thing I know, next morning I find out so-and-so did something last night on the back of the bus I didn't know nothing about. Well, that just screwed the whole win. That win didn't mean anything. So you got to watch out, your kids. Eligibility, residents, when they're doing a family ID, we talked about falsification before. If we don't know, if these kids are falsifying where they're living, and we find out about it, it is our job to do something about it, okay? If they're falsifying where they're living, and they start your practice or they played 4 or 5 games, that shouldn't hurt your record, but what it does for them, it kicks them off the team, and they can't do nothing for 365 days. That is in the handbook. That is in the North Carolina High School Athletic Association handbook. That's on them. So if mom and daddy comes up, well, he's my youngin', it ain't really his fault. Well, it's your fault. So that kid falsifies something, they cannot play a sport for a whole year. So you can't do nothing about it. At every school, at this school, at every school, there's kids not living where they say they're living. But once we find out about it, we do something about it and we're fine. If you know about it and you don't do nothing about it, then you're wrong. Does that make sense? Because I'm not going in people's windows and see where they live. All right? That ain't none of my business. But once you find out, it needs to be taken care of. Does anybody got any questions about that? That happens everywhere. Just got to be smart with it. Because we don't want to hurt your season. We'll go, as of right now, we're going to try to do a fall sports meeting July the 27th. We did this a couple years ago, if we're able to, with the parents, the players. And this will just be for fall sports only. Maybe the Booster Club be here to talk to. And I'll do my little speech, and then you can break off with your team and talk to your parents. Okay? And that's when you maybe can give your rules out to the parents and tell them your expectations and schedules, and they can get season passes and all that. So we're going to try to shoot for right now July the 27th, 6 o'clock here. Coaches fall sports may want to have a packet. I've already said that. BSN agreement, done that. Cleaning your facilities. Don't let your kids leave practice with trash on the basketball court, with trash on the soccer field, with trash on the football practice field, with trash on the volleyball court. They don't leave. They clean up. So keep your area clean. Don't have. I've had paint out there before, and it's my fault. I've had paint out there before. Kid comes out there on the weekend and paints. Luckily, they just painted the ground, but they paint all this ugly mess they shouldn't be painting on the ground, pictures and stuff. Well, I shouldn't be left to paint out there. That's my fault. So make sure you don't want nobody to destroy and your facilities. We got nice facilities here at Clinton High School. We want to keep it up. COVID-19 is still in effect as of now. We had an individual been quarantined for 10 days. So it's still in effect. I just saw NC State baseball ruin their chance to win a college World Series, national championship. So it's still in effect. Even though it's dying down and it's dropping off, it's still in effect. So when I get more details on it, I'll email it to you. I hope it gets out of here, but it's still in effect. And right now, we still got masks indoors. Don't worry about temperatures no more. Checking temperatures, but keep the mask indoors until hopefully we don't have to do it anymore. But I gave you those positive and negative forms. Ma'am?
Remember last year at the very beginning, before they could come to the first practice, they had to do the workout, and they had to have that form filled out?
I know what you're talking about. I've not heard nothing about that, but if I do, I definitely will send it to you. Need a roster, master eligibility sheet. If you're bored to death, go ahead and do it now. Well, I don't know if he's trying out. Put him or her up there anyhow. They're up there. If you have, I know we ain't gonna have but 10 cross-country runners, but we might have 18. We'll put all 18 up there. The 8 of them might not show up, but they're up there at least. So that's on you. Try to get that before your first scrimmage. Definitely got to have it before, try to have it before 3 or 4 days before your first match. So I can look over and make sure their grades are good, their birth date's good, their residence good, and all that stuff. So I can double check, and I usually check it 25 times because I'm anal. Coaching passes, how it works. Now, last year, I know it was aggravating because I didn't like doing it either, but I had to. But it looks like, knock on wood, I can't say 100%, it looks like your coaching passes this year, you'll better get into games free, like you've done in the past. Okay? Now, well, how about our mom? How about my husband? And how about his 2 little kids? This is how it works. And if you don't understand it, I'll explain it to you because I may have to explain it to you more than once. We're going to get 25 conference passes from the SAC 7. So, fall will get them first. So I'll give them the football coach. I'll give them the volleyball coach. The people that have to pay. Who else? Is there somebody else that has to pay? I think that's it. So if I give you out of the 25, 7, 7, 7, whatever the number is, you give them to who you want to. So I'm gonna give it to my coaches to give to their wife so they can get in free. I'm gonna give it my coach right here so I can give it to him so he can give his two daughters in free. So you go get some passes. So you're free anyhow, and then you'll have conference passes 25. Well, at the end of the fall season, I'm gonna collect those back, and then I'm gonna give it to the winter sports. I'm gonna collect those back, and then I'm gonna give it to the spring sports coaches. So a coaching card does not get you and your whole family in. A coaching card and a SAC 7 pass may get 2 or 3 people in your family in. Does that make sense? Okay. CHS Emergency Action Plan, I sent you that. Read over it. Please scan it at least. It's going to be in every facility. I'm going to put it everywhere. There's one there now. I'll throw it away, put the new one. I've updated a little bit here and there on there. Training room. Leave it alone. Do not go into training room, and we don't want any athletes in that training room. Never. We should not have athletes going in there getting tape, going in there getting ice. If you go in that training room and get something for an athlete, that's a little different. You're going in there to get something for the athlete. You shouldn't be giving the athlete the key to go in that training room to get something to get ice. Because things get stolen. Things get moved around. Things get spilled. And then we have to go back in there. Dr. Yarshevsky and Tracy's got to go back in there and clean it up. And we've been noticing things get misplaced. So make sure you're in there with a student athlete. If they're getting taped or whatever, don't leave them in there alone. Okay? We'd really appreciate that because that's been an issue a little bit. Grass people, super job. Mowers have been looking great. If there's something wrong with one of them, let me know. But they've been doing good. When you're done mowing and you back to fertilizer's coming, so you get ready to start mowing some more. When you're done, don't be like, I ain't doing that. I'll let him do it. That ain't fair. Clean it. Spray it off. All right? It's going to last a lot longer. And that grass ain't going to get wrapped around that belt and the belt breaks. And then I got to pay another $150. So clean the grass off, please. Basketball court. Help with the basketball court. We got PE classes.